right. Welcome to the House of Bathory podcast. This is episode 2. And welcome Johnny from the Browning.
How you doing?
Doing, dude?
Doing good. Just hanging out.
Yeah? What's been
Yeah,
up?
baby's asleep, hopefully for at least more than the time we're doing this. So
That's a good thing, right?
yeah, definitely.
What's been up with
Yeah,
you, man?
just busier than ever, pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, staying busy. But it's a good thing, but also a more stressful thing, but stressful in the sense that I'd rather be busy than not. So that's fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, busy is always is good. I
Yeah. You busy?
I'm pulling my hair out busy, But I mean it's good. It's difficult, but I think that's part of our job, right?
Well, and the music that we make is not the easiest of subgenres and production and everything. So,
Right.
yeah, it doesn't make writing 3 albums at the same time very easy.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you're coming out with a new Browning album?
Yeah. Yeah. The new Browning record, it's coming out through Fixed, which been kind of daydreaming of working with Fixed for a long time. They just works very specifically in the genre of music that I love and that I write.
Right.
And so it's like kind of the perfect storm. We were really wanting to work together, but I was on tied to Universal for a long time, pretty much perpetually forever. And so, we just wanted to work together as much as possible. So I was remixing some of their artists, and we did like a merch deal just so we could be tied together in some way. And then somehow, by the grace of me acting like a total a-hole on purpose to Universal, they let me off my contract. So here we are.
You had issues with Universal, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like they're fine people, but they just like, they have, Atreyu, Bullet for My Valentine, Ghost, now they got Sleep Token. So they work well in that area of music. But whenever you talk about adding, me wanting to do deathcore, heavy stuff that has a ton of electronics, they just weren't creative enough. They do stuff in a very old school, traditional way. And bands that are in like what we're doing need a modern way of thinking. They need a modern way of just pushing it to another level in any way, shape, or form. And that is not something that a traditional label setup does.
Were they very
Like,
controlling of
no, they weren't controlling, but that's partially just because I'm not able to be controlled in that sense.
sure,
Like,
yeah. Me and
they
you are very
they were,
similar.
yeah, if they I think they knew better in the first place to
Yeah,
try to say anything, but
right.
they knew that it was my way or the absolute highway, and so they weren't controlling. They were more so just seemingly there's. I'll go through a couple of big issues. Big one, they were so distracted by other things, like obviously the Brownings by far not even close to the biggest artist that Universal has, and not just the metal subsidiary we were part of, Spine Farm, but also just Universal as a whole. But the issue with being a subsidiary of something like Universal is everything from the subsidiary has to go through Universal. So I'm like, hey guys, I want to get on a call and talk about whatever, literally anything. It didn't matter how small or big it was. They're like, all right, we got to go through Universal system, and so we can talk in like 3.5 weeks.
It's like
You know?
corporate.
Yeah, I'm just like, what do you mean? Just freaking call me. You know my phone number. Like, you just shoot me a text to call me. It was no matter what, like 2 week minimum waiting to be able to be put into Universal's calendar because I has to go through all this bull crap.
Right.
And so that was a big issue. Also, a big issue was like, for End of Existence, it was a very weird setup that was needing because it was right at the beginning of COVID. So budgets were weird and had to be spent in different ways, just for particularly survival purposes. And the basically the Browning needed more money for End of Existence.
Hmm.
And uh, basically, to be able to do that instead of the label working with you on a more personal level of, oh, I understand why you might need this. They're like, okay, well, Universal has some algorithm that punches a bunch of numbers and determines like how much extra money can go into whatever. And so there's no personal feelings. There's no like dreaming big. There's algorithmic stuff that determines what your band is going to get and what they're going to do, you know?
Right.
And so that's annoying. Whereas you go to a complete opposite setup. And I'll say this, the dudes at Universe or that were part of the subsidiary, good people, well intentioned, but I think they were being held back by being part of a subsidiary. But whenever the success of an album doesn't matter because you're getting paid a salary from a freaking $1 billion company, do you really care how a smaller band's record performs? No. You're collecting
Exactly.
your salary no matter what. And so the big difference is, like a way something like Fixed operates, which I've never seen a label operate like this. They work off of a straight profit split. That's it. Like
Nice.
it's a straight 50-50 profit share. And that's not like a gross share. It's a profit share. So everything is built to profit. And whenever it does, it's straight 50-50. So if they and then also part of that money comes out of like their side of the 50-50. So it's like it's built in a way that they have to work really hard to make it beneficial. And then also the Browning is like, they have a lot of artists and a lot of artists who do a lot of stuff, but the Browning is their biggest signing to date. And so to be like the big fish in this sea is really, really nice rather than being a nobody in some thing that is, I don't know. It's just nice to have focus. Like I'll text the owner of Fixed and he'll text me or call me. Like it's just an immediate thing rather than some bull crap. And all Fixed is just a um their office is in I think Burlington, Iowa, you know.
I knew a
They're a
guy from
small
Fix, and I think he was in Anaheim. He was printing our
yeah.
merchandise. This was, I don't know if it's the same. He works there anymore.
Yeah, if it was merch it might have been some other deal cuz they have people all over the world working for them, but
Okay.
their headquarters is smack dab in freaking Iowa. So they're
Wow.
small town dudes and girls and they are just killing it. And so,
Nice.
from my neck of the woods and my type of people, they just like to work hard, you know?
That's what you need.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So,
Right
yeah,
on.
I can appreciate it.
Yeah, and I got a
I'm
chance to hear. I'm allowed to say it, right? I can.
yeah, Poison.
Okay. Yeah, I listened to a track off the new Browning, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sounds like the apocalypse of deathcore. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, one thing that's a little different with how Fixed operates and that's different than what I've ever done is Fixed, they do a lot of singles, but this isn't just Fixed now, this is the modern way of doing things,
Hmm.
which is another thing, like, this is the modern way of doing it, it's the optimal way of doing it, but it's not what Universal would do, but it's, dropping as many singles as possible, right?
Okay.
And so it's just like exactly what Electric Callboy just did. They released like 7 singles and then they dropped a full record, you know?
That seems like the thing
And
that everybody's doing now.
yeah,
It's like singles. It's not full
yeah.
lengths anymore.
It's because the only way to get discovered is through editorial playlist on Spotify.
Yeah.
And so editorials only work with singles. And so if you have one single or 2 singles off your record, then that means 2 songs get editorial. If you have
Okay.
7, that means 7 songs get editorial. And it's like a 10 times amount of streams different of editorial songs and non-editorial songs. And so it's just the modern way of doing it. The same way rappers do it. Like they mainly do singles. It's just like it's definitely the modern way of doing it. And so with that being said, I don't know. I'm kind of have to put myself in a different mindset with writing because if I'm writing a single, it has to be next level. It has to be attention grabbing, especially in the modern world with reaction videos being as important as they are, which is a double-edged sword, but nonetheless, you have to write music that is will get a reaction, if you
Right.
want it to get hundreds of thousands of views from reaction channels and whatnot. And so, this song is definitely that. we're coming out swinging. We have Hardcore Keem in the band now, as a full-time member. He's playing guitar, and he's known for, being into heavy music and all that sort of stuff. And so he has a huge fan base of people that just love the heaviest music out there.
So
And so, yeah, we just have to. The song is intentionally, stupidly heavy to just come
that's what
out
I
swinging.
like.
Yeah, come out swinging and show Keem's fans what the Browning really has. And a big thing we've always been told is at shows always the Browning, you guys were way heavier than you are on record. We've gotten that a million times. And that came from a production standpoint. I always wanted synths above all. I wasn't even a big fan of my vocals like back in the day, so I personally mixed vocals low. I didn't want guitars over it because I wanted it to sound electronic. So basically, in mixes of old Browning records, you got synth and you got drums. And now I've kind of reversed that. I started it on End of Existence to where the guitars are at a minimum level with the synths.
Yeah,
And so it's perceived a lot heavier, even though it might just be just as heavy as other Browning songs. But on record, it sounds heavier than what I've ever done, just because from a production standpoint.
nice.
And so,
Actually,
yeah.
I had a question about
Hmm.
the Browning. So, because I went on your podcast and I have a really bad memory. But when did the Browning start again? I'm sorry, like
So I started it as a solo project in 2005 on MySpace.
wow. So that's
But I made it
a
into a
couple
full
years
band
after
in
DOA.
2010.
I
Yeah,
think we've done exactly same process because I started DOA
yeah.
as by myself, and
Mhm.
so my question is because um when did you what inspired you to put synths into
Yeah.
this type of music?
So, um, big thing for me, I mean, the first record I ever bought myself was, Tattoo. The old Russian, female duo, like, techno band,
Okay,
Tattoo.
all right,
And, "Not gonna get us," like that stuff.
yeah.
That's the first record I ever bought in my life. And I played a ton of DDR, big time into DDR, Stepmania, all that stuff.
Hmm.
And so that just obviously had itself like geared towards techno just nonstop. But at the same time, me and my brother got instruments when we were like 11, and we were pretty much went straight to like playing Hatebreed songs. And
Right on.
and so that we're playing, heavy music. And my thought was, as I got to being around 14, 15, and whenever I started this, I was listening to stuff that was heavy, heavy. So Annotations of an Autopsy,
God
As Lay
damn,
Dying.
that's funny because that band I keep
Yeah.
forgetting the
Yeah.
name. I was like, oh, there's
Yeah.
this one album and they had this crazy fucking writing you couldn't understand, but it was so
Yeah.
goddamn heavy. Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck.
Annotations of Autopsy. And so they were the first band I started doing vocals to too. And so they
Okay,
were a big band for me. But
nice.
I listened to basically heavy stuff, but I was always geared a little bit more towards like metalcore and then European metal, particularly like, Amon Amarth and stuff like that. And so through DDR, I switched over to Stepmania, which is the computer version and way more intense. Like for people that DDR is boring because it's too easy, you go over to Stepmania. That's where the hardcore crap is.
Hmm.
And that's where I got into hardstyle dance music, which is a major European style of dance music that is the fastest, hardest, heaviest, darkest style of dance music there is. And so I was way into hardstyle just from, playing Stepmania. And then my thought was like, I was just listening to it and it's very driving, like, "Dun, dun, 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 dun," just like straight in your face.
Yeah.
And it was dark. And then I was like, what if you put the heaviest dance music with the heaviest metal? And, that's basically what I intended to do. Now, my production was trash back then. So it was nowhere near
All of ours
hardstyle.
was. I think
Yeah, it was
everybody.
nowhere near actual hardstyle, but the
Right.
intention was there to be an extremely dark electronic metal band, and electronics 100% of the time. then I didn't think it'd be possible forever. I thought literally back then I was gonna have to have like 5 keyboard players on stage because there were so many layers even in the songs I wrote back
Oh
then, even
yeah.
how basic they were.
Yeah, and like
I
I
was like,
bet you
"How?"
when you started, I mean, it was like me when I started, I didn't know anything about fucking MIDI
Oh, no.
and backing tracks, so like
No.
it was like
Yeah,
a
what
shit show. Like,
yeah, so I literally thought I was gonna have to get like 3, 4 keyboard players on stage to be
oh
able to make
yeah,
it possible, so it was just perpetually gonna be just a project and something I did for fun,
okay.
and, got really lucky whenever I was 18, I did a open audition for As Blood Earns Black, and I actually got into the band,
Oh sick.
and the only vocals I ever did in my life was on Browning stuff, so I'd never been in a band doing vocals. But joined as Blood Earns Black and went on tour with them, and we toured with I Wrestled a Bear once, and they showed me how they ran their backing tracks, and that immediately went in my head like, "That's how I can do the Browning." And so I lasted, like a year, and as Blood Earns Black, quit and went and started the Browning as a full band because I realized it was actually possible.
Nice.
Yeah. And so
Nice.
that's kind of the initiation of from whenever I started it to how it became a full band and, a bunch of lucky stuff and um just I don't know, out there grinding ever since.
Right on. So you
The rest
guys
is history.
you have
Exactly.
this, I don't know if you created it, I just been paying attention that
Mm.
you call yourself synth metal.
Yeah.
Is that
I
something
mean,
you created or have you heard this before?
no, I mean the what I've always said, and at least in the beginning, I said electronica with metal. Like, and the people call it electronic core. People call it I don't know. I think electronic core is probably the main one, but I never knew what to call it because like there's so many different subgenres of dance music that is in it. Some of the synths will be trancey, some of them will be straight hard style. Sometimes there's dubstep. So it's like I can't call it any specific like
No,
thing.
it's like with Dawn of Ashes, like it's
Yeah.
been so rough to we do so many different styles of music. So I've been
Mhm.
lately I'm just like we're industrial extreme
Yeah.
metal.
Well, see, for you guys, there is one issue with the Browning. Whereas you guys don't particularly have this issue.
Uh-oh.
Um, like,
Uh-oh.
well, we won't even talk about the band name, but besides the band name itself, which that is the biggest regret of my life, the name of the Browning. But nonetheless, you guys don't have the issue that you have. You can say you're industrial because not only the sound of the music and just what your music entails, but also your imagery leads it to that where like so you have an industrial, very extreme look, whereas the Browning, you take away the synths and everything, and we just look like a bunch of fat death metal dudes on stage, and so like we don't have a specific image that is like, oh, these guys are industrial or
But
these
one of
guys
the things
are
about the
this.
Browning, how I personally discovered the Browning is there is only a handful of extreme metal bands that incorporate synths
Yeah.
and any sort of like any of this shit behind me. There's only
Right.
really a handful. So I found you guys by looking up like extreme metal with
Yeah.
electronic music or industrial or whatever, and when I heard you guys, I was like, oh shit, finally there's. I mean, I didn't know about
Right.
you guys from all the way back then, but I was just like,
Hmm.
damn, this shit's like I thought like we were one of the only bands that were doing this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with people that have done a lot of electronics in metal is that it always was, and I'm not saying this in like a derogatory sense, but it was always like corny as crap,
Mm,
you know?
yeah,
It
you either
was
do it
freaking
right
it's
or
cheesy.
you don't do it at all. That's
Yeah. And they were doing like pop trance stuff rather than like hard style or industrial elements. It was always like the corny side of techno
right.
rather than like the hardcore side of techno. And
Right.
so like there's like besides the Browning and Dawn of Ashes and I there's not really anyone else that does like a dark heavier side
Like
of
the
it
bands I can
that
think
has
of
like
are like Fear Factory and
yeah.
Uh,
But
fuck.
even that, that's like they barely tap on it, you know? It's like it's
Yeah.
barely there. You know, it's an and they were an early form of it, so it wasn't something that was such a forefront. They're mainly doing just like some kind of percussive elements and a piano every now and then, whereas like bands like us take it to an extreme. It's 100% of the time and it's a freaking forefront. Um, but that was always my biggest problem with all the other bands that were relative to what the Browning was doing. Like early on, early, and when I made the Browning like a full band. This was 2010, and so it was Attack Attack, Aston Alexandria, where once every 3 songs they would do a and that was it, you know? They would do a breakdown with a trance gate on it, and that's about the most you got. And so it just I was just trying to point out to people, and no one in America knew what the crap was going on with the Browning. Everyone in America was calling it dubstep metal because at the time dubstep was on top
Was
of the
so
world. So
big.
people
Yeah.
thought techno, they thought dubstep.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is hardstyle. Like you go to the Netherlands and people are listening on mainstream radio. This is huge over there. You know, it's dark. And I just that was my biggest issue with other bands that combine it is I wanted it to be darker because there's so many elements that synths can add that they were just touching the surface of turning it on and holding a chord and having a transgate go pretty much.
Yeah, I
Um,
would honestly take. I mean, when we would or I would write the music, I would take like the synths or the electronics as kind of like a second guitar. So like for
mm,
instance, we just released a single and it has a lot of hardcore elements. It was actually
mm,
inspired by a lot of hard like 90s hardcore, but the main synth is like the lead guitar. It's like such a
mhm.
bit like the guitars aren't really intricate. It's
Yeah,
the keys that are kind of driving the fucking song.
yeah, for sure. Like what had there's a few things um about that. Like the first that made me think about how like I was saying how people don't the Browning was heavier live than on record.
Hmm.
And it's because early on in my career of this, I wanted the synths to stand out. So if a riff was going doo doo dee doo dee doo 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 doo, the synth was going doo doo wee woo dee woo woo wee wee doo, you know, it was literally matching it. The synth was playing the same thing as the guitar, which
Exactly.
made the guitars go back even farther. And so people thought it was just all synth, where there's actually guitars there, but they don't hear them unless they went live.
Hmm.
But also, like the the thing with all that, it's I don't know. It's a tough way to it's tough to blend it, but definitely having those synths like stand out as the lead. I even Keen's in the band and just like I blew his mind like 6 months ago trying to explain to him like what the Browning has always done. I'm like, no, you take a monomarth and you take all the notes out of the guitar, have the guitar chug open, and have the synth play the guitar riff. Like, that's what the Browning does. It's a monomarth riffs, but on synthesizers with the guitars playing breakdowns. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's the same sort of riffs. It's the same stuff. I was even showing a comparison of how similar some Browning songs are to a monomarth, but with synthesizers. And I think that I viewed it the same way. It's the synth is a guitar lead, so I purposefully people make the meme all the time. Hey, send me the Browning tabs, and they just put a bunch of opens. I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's completely intentional, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can tell I'm all about that from all the shit behind me. But lately, it's been for me. It's getting into like the modular shit and putting that into metal, and that's just like
I've
it's
never touched any physical synth ever.
it's you go down a rabbit hole, and it's bad. Like this guy right here was an
Yeah,
investment, but
sure.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's cool. So, what were like some of the bands like as far as metal or hardcore that inspired the Browning in the beginning?
So the biggest inspiration to me, um, forever of like wanting to take music seriously. Well, I did, even though I didn't get along with the dudes, I do have to give a shout out to as Blood Runs Black because they took me as an 18-year-old and brought me on tour and gave me a platform to realize that I wanted to do music full time.
Uh-huh.
But what really, really inspired me was the As I Lay Dying DVD, An Ocean Between Us DVD. Uh, just watching that, like I knew I wanted to do music and everything, and I actually went to school for music production for like 3 seconds until I joined ABRB and started touring.
Hmm.
But so I wanted my plan was to work in a studio and just not really be in a band. But the As I Lay Dying DVD and Ocean Between Us is like an absolute must watch for anyone interested in music. It showed them from conception, and especially with how much of it was on uh Tim and Tim's like focus and him kind of pushing everything to where it needed to go. And then to where they were and on the Ocean Between Us cycle, which is just absolute massive. So you see it from their absolute beginning to where they were. And so seeing that made me be like, dang, I can freaking like I'll do this. You know, I I just it inspired me a ton. And
Nice.
so just as far as an inspiration, that was the main thing. Musically, dude, I was literally just playing breakdowns with synthesizers. So whoever plays breakdowns, and then I just started, twiddling around on it. And a big thing for me, it was always combining so many different elements from so many different things. So uh like there was a period from we get some crap for it now. We'll post a song that has like rap in it, which the past three records I've had in each one song that has like 20 seconds of rap.
I've heard
People are
those
like,
tracks, and
yeah,
I actually dig it. Well, I like
yeah,
hip
they're
hop,
sweet.
so you know.
Yeah. And so people there'd be someone, "I've been a fan since the beginning, and I just can't stand that you guys are on this hip hop trend and blah, blah, blah." And it's like, there was actually a period from 2007 to 2009 to right before I made it a full band that it was all hip hop and metal. There's tracks that you can find, you can get on YouTube, find these ones
You
from
can't please
however long
everybody.
ago. Yeah, that's all I was doing was trap was like I can't say trap, hip hop and metal. And so it was a big part actually whenever I was making it a full band, we had to make a decision of okay, do I want to take this the hard style route or do I want it to be rap metal the whole time? And the dude that was rapping at the time for the Browning stuff is my brother-in-law, and we all moved down to Dallas to go start the Browning full time.
Okay.
Me, my sister, my brother-in-law, and got down there, and he was very into doing stand up. And so at the time we were doing a ton of YouTube skits and all this sort of stuff. And he popped off with the I'm a Snake video. And so if you've seen that video of the dude, I'm a snake, like saying that over and over again,
Hmm.
that's my brother-in-law, the dude that was the original rapper in the
All right.
Browning. And so he was on Tosh.0 and he freaking blew up from that. And so at the time that we were trying to decide, do we want to do the rap metal or the techno metal? He was also blowing up with stand up. So we were like, this, it makes sense to be able to both do our creative processes. And so, yeah, I don't know, but I still love the hip hop influence. Even a lot of breakdowns, I kind of think of some breakdowns as if they were rap beats, like dun, dun,
Dude,
dun,
I wrote
dun,
some
dun.
some industrial beats that were fucking straight up hip hop beats. I
Yeah.
mean, dude, you get inspiration from fucking anything. I mean, if you're a
Yeah.
real artist, I don't know. I don't think any successful musician likes to be pigeonholed into just like
Hmm.
one thing. I mean, even like Slayer, like they started throwing breakdowns like
Right.
later on. They didn't sound like
Yeah.
how they did in the beginning. So I mean,
Yeah. I mean, to I mean, I'll straight get and I'll be watching TV. Actually, I was just going through a file and I was like, "Oh, I remember where I got the idea for this synth." We were watching this cartoon with my daughter called The Willoughbys, and there's this
okay.
section where they're like chasing this dude through a candy factory, and there's like this techno beat kind of happening in the background,
Hmm.
and there's this sick synth. I'm just like, "Wait a second, that synth is crazy," you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'll come in here and I'll just like I'll take out my phone and record the TV and then go back and be like try to reproduce it in some way. And so like I'll be watching cartoons and be like, dang, I could use that somehow, you know?
There's some evil ass cartoons out there. So I mean,
Yeah. The a big one that a big like show that actually really kind of um like changed a lot of my certain things with like tension and build up that I've implemented a lot since the start of End of Existence. Was we were watching Handmaid's Tale, and every time that something suspenseful was starting to happen in the show, like crap would about to be starting to pop off, and then you would hear this little dissonant, like half like semitone apart melody just going like "Nee, nee, 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 nee," like back and forth. But they would do it underneath these big strings too. And then as things would get more and more, that would be fading up. And then you would just have this dissonance of these two like half note apart notes just going back and forth.
Mhm.
And I have implemented that so much into my craft now, literally just that all the time in any sort of build to build this like awkward tension. Um, and so I got that from just watching Handmaid's Tale and being like, that is so sick that like that happening. So yeah, 100% take influence from anywhere and everywhere. But
Anywhere.
that's also the beauty of electronics. Like if we were a bass, guitar, drums, and vocals band, I wouldn't be adding no,
Right.
tension building elements.
I mean, like, fuck. I mean, my inspirations are just so fucking all over the place now. I mean,
I'm
like,
sure.
Hans Zimmer is like one of my
Oh yeah.
biggest fucking inspirations. I mean, like when I'm
Mhm.
writing anything, it's definitely inspired by a lot of his work. And
Yeah,
it's not like metal or anything, it's
uh
soundtrack shit.
I bought a master class from him and then never did it.
Really?
It was just sitting there. Yeah, I should have done it. I don't know why I did it.
It's,
Probably because like 8 hours or something.
he's like a fucking god to me, that guy.
I mean, the Interstellar soundtrack, like everybody was doing something that was based off of that after that movie.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
next level.
it's a fucking amazing soundtrack. Same with the Inception fucking soundtrack. That
Mhm.
shit's so good.
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing that people need to pay attention to with cinematic stuff is tension building and release of tension. And it's the same thing in Browning stuff. Like this song that I showed you, Poison. One problem that I have with a lot of music is it's too predictable, especially in metalcore now. All of metalcore is doing freaking radio rock structures, and it blows my mind because it's the least surprising, least exciting thing that I've ever listened to in metal, which is why I've been geared more towards extreme stuff. But with that being said, there can they do one spot, the bridge after the second chorus is a everything dies down, vocalist starts talking, and then everything stops, vocalist screams, breakdown. They have one release of tension, and it's the same every time. Therefore, to me, it's not really a release of tension because 'cause I'm expecting it. Like, there's no tension. I know it's coming,
I
you know?
mean, I don't know if I sound ignorant here. Maybe I'm just old, but are there any new metalcore bands? Because I don't really. I'm so like out of the loop with.
Oh, yeah.
There are.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands popping off right now with the most basic metal you could ever write. I tend to not even necessarily categorize that. It's all rock music. It's like heavier rock. And I ain't talking crap. People can do what they need to, make money and whatnot. And so I can appreciate that. And because they're popping off big time. But just for me, I care a lot more about the musical aspect of it. And so like if I know exactly what you're gonna do the whole time, then there's no tension to be built. So there's no release that happens. So it's
Right.
not satisfying to any degree.
Especially if they're
Whereas like
replicating every other
uh
fucking band. It's
yep.
like, come
Yeah,
on.
you could write the structure out on a piece of paper and tick it off as it goes. And so starting on End of Existence, that's something that I very much specifically set out to not do. Um, and so I came up with some really unique structures and doing it a lot on this. And then the big thing for me is multiple climaxes. You take that however you want it, but however, having multiple climaxes is so huge.
I just got that.
Every I know, yeah. However you want to perceive that, do your thing. But um, the I have every single part should be some form of climax. And so whether it's just a transition drum fill into like the chorus, that chorus should have some form of release of tension. And then as you're transitioning back to the verse, you need another transition into another release. And then the whole verse is a build of tension to release into the chorus. Like every single part is a build of tension and then a release at the end of it, rather than just one time that happens. Like, so I have multiple parts to the song that is very purposefully, meant to be climactic and be like a shareable, like big part rather than there being one per song. Now,
Right.
this isn't like, I don't know if this is something that's going to garner me any sort of success, but nonetheless, it makes it exciting for me to listen to it. And
Hey, it's your
uh,
shit. You know, you got to please
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. And people ask me all the time, like, who do you listen to? And it's like, straight up, I listen to the Browning. Like, that is what I listen to my music. There's very few amount of artists that I do listen to, and it's always stuff that is quite weird, and typically always with synthesizers. So, I love listening to We Butter the Bread with Butter. They do a bunch of weird stuff, and have a lot of synths. I also like listening to Rammstein. They do some weird structures, some weird key changes. I have no freaking clue what he's saying, which makes it weird as well. And so, but pretty much every band I listen to is German, or even stuff like what Dawn of Ashes does. I'm gonna listen to something that's different and something that's weird to some degree. Um, I can't listen to any of the big artists currently at all.
You heard that? He said Dawn of Ashes. No, I'm
I
just
did.
kidding. Don't
I just
listen
need
to that
something
band.
unique.
I know.
Yeah, I just need something unique. But maybe it's
No,
also
I mean,
just me wanting sense.
I'm totally with you on that. I mean, for me, I am so fucking picky when it comes to music, and like lately, I mean, I'm still stuck in the fucking 90s, listening to the same fucking shit. But lately, I've been kind of just researching bands that no one has ever fucking heard. Like, I'll just like,
Yeah,
because for me, I'm just so fucking tired of the same shit. Nothing really
yeah.
kind of like blows me away where I'm like, man, this is fucking
Yeah.
amazing. Everything kind of sounds the fucking same to me.
Yeah. For me, like, so many people are like, "Oh, I hate this term. All these bands are, oh, we're maturing. This is the most mature record we've wrote." That bull crap. Like, nothing about
I've
playing
used that.
softer music. Yeah.
I've used that.
But oh
Guilty.
yeah, for sure. But maturing doesn't necessarily mean that we're going soft. That's how they all use it, you
No,
know?
not at all.
So they all say, "Oh, this is a mature record," which it means that we're playing rock songs now. It's like, as I
No, that
mature
means you're
throughout my
getting
life.
old. Not
Yeah,
mature. You're
exactly.
getting fucking
There's a
old.
difference. As I quote unquote mature, I've listened to now the stuff that I like the most is the most extreme. So if I'm listening to metal, I'll listen to, as heavy as it gets if that's what I'm going for, you know?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
so I just want it to be extreme and surprising.
And it's funny. The new Dawn of Ashes album. It's our 14th album, and it's one of the heaviest albums.
Mhm.
And I'm 40 fucking one, so I'm not like you know, making fucking kumbaya rock songs now. Like I'm more pissed off in my 40s than I was in my fucking 20s. So
Yeah,
I'm making more
definitely.
angry fucking music, you
Yeah,
know?
my stuff is definitely tinging more towards heavy now, and that's why, the second song that I showed you
Hmm.
before stream is for a new project that I'm doing. It's called
That shit's really
Death
good.
X Destiny.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
it's called Death X Destiny. It's basically what it's doing, it's giving me a lot of ability here, with musically. So, and we haven't dropped anything yet. All we have is an Instagram page that it's dropping, like, a week after the Browning song, but we're gonna surprise drop it. And so basically what this is allowing me to do is kind of focus a bit more on the purpose and the intention of both projects. And then also to do something that's branded from the get-go properly. Like how I said, the Browning kind of has a mismatch in branding. We sound weird with techno stuff and electronics, but we look like a death metal band. This project is gonna be branded from the get-go with a name that's cool, with a logo that matches, with pictures that match, videos that match, image that match, everything actually branded properly.
So you're gonna actually
And
have an image, like a specific image with this project?
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
a specific sound too, and so
Nice.
it's taking the Skybreaker side of the Browning, which
Mhm.
Skybreaker, that song really popped off for the Browning, but the problem with Skybreaker, as you know, as much of a problem having a song pop off is, the problem with Skybreaker is we're getting a lot of fans specifically for Skybreaker, right?
Okay.
And the songs that sound like Skybreaker, which there's like 3 of them in the Browning's 60 song catalog, right? But Skybreaker is a big anthemic synth rock song. And so what do? Do I mature like everyone else and form the Browning to be this anthemic synth rock thing? Or do I, because the Browning goes super chaotic, genre bending all over the freaking place, but then would randomly have these super melodic synth rock songs. So my thought is take the whole melodic synth rock side of the Browning, give it its own identity, and then that opens up the gate to not do that with the Browning and go full freaking chaos. And so it allows the heavy side of the Browning to shine while it also allows me to write way more music of that anthemic synth rock. So if there's someone that loves that sound, they'll go listen to DXD and have a full record of it. Whereas with the
Nice.
Browning, they would never get a full record of that ever.
That's dope.
And so it allows me to kind of split my thing rather than being so diverse in the one project and exiling half the listeners half the time. Because if I did half the song synth rock, half the fans are gonna hate that. They want the Browning to be freaking trap into hardstyle, into breakdowns, into slam. Where and then half the songs are, female singing with, a basic 1, 2, 3, 4 rock beat. It's like, no, I'll do that on a whole project, brand it properly, and then just go full chaos with the Browning. And so that's the big thing that I'm working on right now is full time with both projects. And we actually signed DXD, Death X Destiny, to Fixed before the Browning could get off of Universal.
That's
So
cool.
this was kind of a plan was to also start working with Fixed to start a new band to work underneath them with because I wasn't able to do it with the Browning yet.
Awesome, man.
So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're busy. Very, very busy, right? That's
Yeah, I mean, my brain's going crazy with it. Just and
dude, I totally get
I
it.
will yeah. I have another
Totally.
thing I'll need to send you after because I have another project that's top secret that's basically old school like MySpace slam stuff that I'm gonna be
So
dropping.
so when are you gonna let Donna Vash just do a remix for you guys?
Oh, there we go. Anytime.
Totally
Straight
want
up.
to, man.
I mean, that's one of the great things about Fixed is they are into doing that sort of stuff. Where with Spine Farm, or in Universal, it was never gonna happen. There would never be found a budget for it. It would be, but Fixed works with so many artists that do that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and they just know how to push it. Like, even if I gave Universal a really good remix, they wouldn't even know where to freaking put the thing. But Fixed knows how to optimize that stuff. So even if you did the sickest remix ever for something that was on Spine Farm, it would have gone nowhere. But if you do a remix now, it's actually going to be used properly and potentially get licensing deals. Like Fixed does that stuff. Like they're good with it.
Nice.
And so that's a big thing that I want to do. Because if you're trying to monetize as a musician, licensing and sync opportunities, these are just a massive monetization. So getting, movie trailers or video game cinematics, that sort of stuff. That's where, as an artist in our genre, we have an advantage over any other genre of music to
Oh
be able to
yeah.
do licensing and stuff for video
Yeah, I
games
mean
and
we can
movies.
do with the type of stuff we do. I think we have more of an advantage than some of the other metal bands because,
Mhm.
we have this whole atmosphere of symphonics and electronic
Yeah.
music. I mean that
Yeah.
that's
Like
that's
the way,
personally what I'm doing outside of this.
yeah.
I'm not doing any shows till next year because I'm actually starting my own music production company. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm working on. I have my dark ambient album coming out in October. So I've been
Hmm.
doing all this like just ambient music with all my shit. So
Yeah.
there's just so much opportunities that you can do when you're
Yeah.
doing this type of music or anything
For
that
sure.
has with electronics.
Yeah, I mean, even it's crazy the focus on it that Fix does compared to someone else. Like whenever I deliver a song, like a finished final song to Fixed,
Hmm.
they actually require that I send over like layered stems to them. So like a stem for people who don't know is the individual tracks. So you have your vocals, your drums, your synths, your impacts, like literally everything layered. And Fixed requires you send that over because whenever you're working for like licensing or sync opportunities like that, the people that work for that film company or whoever, video game company, they might love your song, but without this element in it. So they will take your stems and mix it exactly like they like. And so Fixed has that. The second company's like, hey, we really like this. Immediately they have all files, all access, ready to freaking make it happen. And so the focus being just so driven on extra opportunities like that is huge, dude. It's
Yeah,
massive.
yeah, it's awesome. Well, should we get some questions for some fans or
Yeah. As long as Final Star doesn't ask any questions, I'm fine
who?
with that.
Oh,
Final Star.
I'm assuming you know that him.
I do. Unfortunate or not, I don't know.
All right, guys. If you guys have any questions for either me or Johnny,
I did
would
see one someone asked a little earlier. They asked that they got into the Browning in like 2013 and they were really into the Bloodlust music video and asked why that's not online anymore. And so that has to go towards the initial label that the Browning was with, which was Earache Records. This is the problem with the Browning. We've signed records to a bunch of people that have no freaking clue to do with the genre. Earache is a traditional classic death metal. Like they had Napalm Death,
oh
Morbid
yeah,
Angel, you know,
yeah, I know who they
and the
are.
Brownings with this. Yeah. And so just a whole bunch of issues with them, but nonetheless there was a huge falling out because they're they like breached contract and then but they were trying to say I breached contract and then there was a whole they weren't paying any royalties, all this sort of bull crap. But the thing is it wasn't just the Browning. There was a bunch of bands like Decapitated sued them, a bunch of artists were suing
Shit.
Earache. And there was just one big wipe that they did that they deleted like a lot of not just the Browning, like all of Decapitated's original music videos, all these like legendary bands. Like as messed up it was for them to do the Browning stuff, there was stuff that was actually legendary. They just wiped off the face of the internet. So
Jesus.
the first two Browning albums weren't online for like 6.5, 7 years. They just took them off. Like no one could hear any of it. Had nothing to do with us.
Well,
Um,
what was their reason for
and
doing it?
they refused to respond to not only me but anybody. No band. I talked to so many of the other bands. Nobody could get a response from them about jack squat.
Weird.
Finally, I had it up to you know I was because the thing is it was an issue for me because um it was a positive and a negative. So on the positive side, they were forcing people to only listen to my new music, which was the only music I was going to be paid for because Earache was never going to pay me, you know?
Right.
And so they basically forced people to listen to the new music rather than stuff I wasn't going to get paid for. So I was like, okay, that's a plus. But the downside was every single freaking post I did, no matter what it was, where's Burn This World? Where's Burn This World? Like, where's these records at? No matter what I said, hey, we're going on tour. It's awesome. They're like, okay, where's the first record? What are you guys doing? Like, why do you guys hate your fans? Why don't you put your music back up? And so it was negatively impacting me for those whole 6 years of people. I felt bad for them. People were nostalgic on that crap.
Right.
So Earache was just taking away everyone's nostalgia. And I finally just had enough of it. And I blew it up online. I just, absolutely threw him under the bus and finally got a response from him. And they gave some BS thing. Oh, we signed a distribution deal and blah, blah, blah. And, the distribution companies who removed it and whatever and total BS because why would a distribution company buy back catalog and then delete everything that they're supposed to be making money off? Like they
Right.
would never do that. um, I have a theory. And that was uh that so basically the Browning's first record was put out through Earache Records. The Browning second record was put out through Earache Records slash Century Media. So Century Media signed a deal with Earache that, and this is all conspiracy theory, by the way, but because I thought about this crap for 6 years trying to work it out. Earache signed a deal with Century Media to distribute, and they were just the distribution for Century Media. Well, what what I learned after the fact, after the second record come out, there was only like $300 put in the marketing budget. There was basically a whole flop on the back end of distribution and whatever, to where the second record basically went to nobody, and it just kind of like stopped. We were like, "What the crap? Like, what happened?" And basically after the fact, totally didn't even think about this stuff anymore after I got stopped working with Earache.
Hmm.
But Earache sued Century Media for the distribution of what any record that came out through their deal. So the Browning was tied into that, a whole bunch of other artists tied into that distribution deal. And Earache won, and they won a big batch of money. Uh, and my thought was, what if they removed everything online that was tied into that distribution deal that they won a crap ton of money from in court? Because maybe the bands that were part of that might have should have been owed a little bit of that money due to the deal gone wrong. So what if they removed everything online because all the bands realistically should have got something from that class action lawsuit?
Welcome to the music industry, kids.
So that's a conspiracy theory, but it makes a freaking lot of sense because all the music they removed was stuff from that era when they were collabing with Century Media on this crap.
You guys think it's easy being in a professional band? You hear this shit? It is not.
Right. And how that really sparked in my brain was 5 years into it, into the music being removed, no records, no contact, no nothing. I randomly get hit up by Sony Music. There was a big skew in the music industry where Sony, Universal, BMI, all these massive companies just started buying up record labels. So I get randomly hit up by Sony, and they're like, "Hey, we have 500 of the Browning Burn This World and Hypernova in our warehouse. Do you want to buy them? If you don't, we're going to destroy them." And my brain goes to, why does Sony have 500 of the Browning records in a warehouse? And then my brain went, wait, Sony bought Century Media. And then I was like, wait a second. Century Media has 500 of these records, which was part of the distribution deal with Earache. And then that's where it all went in my head, like, like the Zach Galifianakis meme with the math equations flying all over the place. I was
Jesus.
like, and so, yeah, that's where it really went in my head of, yeah, I think that everything got removed because there was some
I
law
honestly, I hate
crap like
record
that.
labels. I mean,
Yeah.
like we're right now we're shopping for a new label because I just fuck man, we've been through so many labels and it's just
Mhm. It's a
just
nightmare.
listening to the story fucking gives me anxiety. It's like seriously, like it just
Yeah,
reminds me of so much shit and I'm just like god, the fucking music
it
industry is
sucks.
so shitty.
But see, the thing about Fixed is Fixed was started because the industry sucks. Fixed was started for Seldweller didn't wanna work with any other label ever again.
They didn't want
And
to,
so
right?
he started yeah,
Sorry.
he start he started it to solve this problem himself.
Um,
And so Beesbo said, "If you had an easy button, what part of the music industry would you fix? Labels slash venue slash stream services?" Um, it's tough because there's definitely streaming is an issue. Like it really is. Um, as nice as streaming is for a massive numbers and reach, streaming is an issue for money.
oh, fuck yeah, it is. Especially
It's a problem.
Spotify.
Yeah, it's an issue. That this is actually a big problem with Universal is whenever I signed my contract with Universal, streaming was not a thing. So guess what was not mentioned in the contract was streaming percentages. And so that was a big problem. The and it's I was tied into a deal that had a really, really bad side of streaming percentages and whatnot, and I didn't even have a say in it because it didn't exist really before whenever I signed the deal. And so um, I've came up with some things of ideas of how streaming could be fixed, but it would be better for artists, but worse for consumer. And we're in the modern world where consumers don't give a crap. Consumers want what's best for them, no matter what, you know. And so, how can you fix that as a non-consumer?
This
You
is
know?
why, you guys, you hear this? This is coming from me. Buy a fucking album.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Buy a CD. Buy something that has the artwork and the lyrics and all that shit.
Right.
That
Yeah.
goes towards us.
Right. To get the same amount of money that you get from one CD would take like 100,000 streams.
Oh yeah.
Like no
It's
joke.
bullshit. It's fucking
Yeah.
I know that. It's fucking straight
Yeah.
up bullshit.
And so, like, I don't care. I'll say numbers straight up just because I'm very forward with this
Do your thing.
type
Say
of stuff.
whatever the fuck you want on here.
Yeah. And so, like, um, the Browning, you can look at the Browning stuff. 250,000 monthly listeners for pretty much the past 2 years since End of Existence came out. So we're sitting at 250,000 people that are specifically coming and listening to my music. And uh, every 4 months, I get checks that equal up to about $600 every 4 months. So how can you have 250,000 people per month listening to your stuff and basically be getting like $120 a month?
Now, if you take those numbers and you bought the CDs,
Yeah, I could.
it's way different.
Yeah, what my theory is there needs to be a. I came up with this whole platform, and so I don't know if someone out there is like a millionaire and wants to dump money to me and help me build this thing, it would work. Basically, uh, so people pay a Spotify premium, right? This is what I would do. This would completely fix the whole industry. Because here's one bad thing about how Spotify operates. They have this batch of money they get from Spotify Premium, and it just goes into a massive pool. And then, if say someone pays for Spotify Premium, they only listen to the Browning. Technically, Post Malone makes a percentage of that person that's specifically paying for the Browning, you know? And so that's stupid as crap. There's a whole subgenre of people that listen to crap like our stuff, or even, there's a ton of people that are essentially also paying the bills for people they don't listen to. And so here's my idea. You do a platform, same exact price as Spotify Premium, 16 bucks a month or 15 bucks a month, however much we pay. Who knows? It's 20. I have no idea. And what happens is you create basically a crypto type coin that is attached to that profile. Say it's $15 a month. And so say every single penny is worth one of those cryptos that are tied to this account. Every stream costs one of those tokens. And whoever you stream it to, that token transfers to that band's account. So basically, every stream you would be getting a penny directly from the person. So they listen to that band, boom, token goes to their account, and then the band just cashes out the tokens whenever they want.
Sounds
Like,
good to me.
that's the simplest thing ever. Because here's the thing, if someone's driving to work, why do they need infinite amounts of music to be listened to? You know? Like, someone has a 30-minute commute, they listen to 6 songs. If you were like, "Hey, it would cost you 6 cents to listen to music on your way to work today," you would say, "Yeah, I'll pay that." You know?
Yeah.
But that 6 cents could go directly to the artist that you're listening to rather than put into this pool and shipped around to everybody. And so, like, that's a way in the modern world to directly transfer who's listening to what band in a direct way. And you could even have leaderboards, like this band has a leaderboard of who's transferred the most tokens to the band, you know? It's just it has an ability for so many things and to monetize way better because currently on Spotify, a stream is 0.0005 of a cent. But if that fan listening to the Browning would say, you know what, I'll pay the Browning 1 penny to listen to a song, they would do it in a heartbeat, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And so that's my idea, Beesbo. So someone give me $5 million so that I can pay a development team,
And then come up with
and
another $5 million and then give it to me. Just
then
kidding.
yes, and then he'll partner, and we'll only have Dawn of Ashes and the Browning on the platform because everyone else is going to be on Spotify, so they can have big old numbers and make no money. There we go.
And that means if we're gonna be on a platform together, that means we're gonna have to do a tour together.
Or we got Gamma Hammer in here. Gamma Hammer, he makes really good like 8-bit dungeon music.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, he sends me his songs. It's really good stuff. I want to do like a you're talking about remixes. I would love to do like a whole 8-bit Browning record. Be so sick.
So I can do, if you guys want. I mean, I can do total synth wave shit and all. If you guys want
There you
like
go.
that type of stuff. Let's get the questions fucking
Yeah,
going.
let me get
Dump that shit in this chat. It's for either of us or a joint question that we can answer together. But let that shit roll. Come on. I'm so fucking blind. I'm like trying to look at the chat and like,
I'm
dude,
scrolling through all
yeah, I can't even see like special effects contacts on stage, and I can't even see far away. All right. Yeah, feel free to ask us whatever the hell.
So, Final Star mentioned, so fans want to keep up with the Browning. What's a great way for them to keep up to date with Browning news? And so the thing about the modern world with not only Browning, but even right here with Dawn of Ashes, like doing stuff with this, like being here hanging out with him or being in my Discord hanging out in there, like connecting on a personal level and monetizing. Like you guys subbing on here, use your Twitch Prime, sub to our boy right here. That two
Also,
dollars and
hit
fifty
that
cents.
follow button too.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
follow too. But
Anyways,
all of it, one sub on Twitch is this equivalent to how many streams? I don't even the Beesbo, do the math. You're smart. It's I don't know. It could equate to like 5,000 streams. The $3 that he gets from the stream that you pay. So directly supporting the artists in these modern ways like this is really important. It
hold
really
on
is.
1 second. Let me grab something really quick.
Yeah, you good. Any touring plans for the next year? Um, touring is touring is a little hard in the modern world for everybody. Touring is difficult.
Oh yeah.
COVID really touring re- COVID really freaking screwed the pooch on that one big time. And a big way, it doesn't just affect smaller bands like us, but the big time bands. You see Dragon Force canceling tours, you see freaking Killswitch Engage canceling tours because travel has become absurdly expensive and impossible to manage. And then also, all the fleet companies that own the vehicles that bands have to rent on tour sold their entire fleets during COVID. So it's like impossible to get a rental for a decent price. So it skyrocketed the price of all that, plus gas and just hotels, flights, everything is way too expensive. Like we were trying to book a European tour, and it came down to basically my daily cost would be it was about 25 3 grand. It was like way too
Was
expensive.
that
Whereas
part of the, can't really say it, but there was a talk
yeah,
about, was that the thing?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. The expenses were just like way too through the roof. Where it's like that's a pill that I'm just gonna have to swallow at some point. But at the time, I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. Like this has to go down, you know. Because normally, like whenever we tour Europe, we rent a bus. We can't do it without renting a bus. You know, in the States, we'll tour in a van, but in Europe, we have to do a bus. The bus that we normally would rent over there, it was about $1,000 to $1,200 a day, depending on the tour, which is fine because there's 25 bunks. You split it with 4 bands, it's $300 a day. That's affordable. That same bus, even if we could get it, is now $2,800 a day. So it was $1,200 a day before. Now it's $2,800 a day, and it's more than a year wait on a waiting list. So like, that's tough, dude. But you guys are doing festivals. You guys keep flying over there. You need to get me on these European festivals you're doing.
Dude, I was telling people, and not only that, you have no fucking idea how many times I get hit up of when the hell are us and the Browning ever gonna play together. And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
fuck. Yeah, I know. It would be cool to do a festival with you guys or just
yeah,
anything with you guys. Be awesome.
right.
But I
Well,
gotta do
and
this really quick
do it,
before. So
do
we're
it.
giving away these Resident Evil toys. So I'm randomly picking someone to join the channel, and when we hit the 500th follow, you'll get this. I have two of them, so one of them. So just letting you know. Anyways, go on. Sorry, didn't mean
Dang.
to.
What is it? It's like a
Resident Evil like 12-inch action figures.
heck yeah. There you go. I have like a million Dungeons and Dragons action figures. I should
Dude, are you
give those
playing?
suckers
I'm
away.
surprised you're not playing Baldur's Gate.
Dude, I miss games so much. This is something that goes along with the touring thing too, and that is that me and Keem, our guitarist, like we have kids. And so Keem has freaking three kids. And so touring, not only is it more expensive, I used to take losses on tours, not giving a crap, just so that we could do it.
Right.
But now, like COVID forced everybody into a different way of life. Like I started a whole company that I have people working for me. Like if I go on tour, like my company as a whole makes a lot less money. And so everyone takes a hit. So it has to be worth it. Like if I'm going out on tour, like I do have to make a lot more money now, unfortunately, to make it worth it. So I can't go fly to Europe and take a $10,000 loss on a tour like I used to be able to do.
I'm the same
Like,
way. I'm like, one of the reason why I did festivals this year, not only because last year I had health problems from that tour,
mhm,
but I'm being very picky about what tour I'm going to go on. It
yeah.
really needs to be something like awesome. Like,
Yeah, it has to be worth it,
yeah,
100%. It can't
yeah.
just be go out for willy-nilly. Because even, it's not just money that I would lose going out just in general on expenses, but also money that I would be making working with my company. So it's
Are you
like
guys
it's a
going on
double loss.
tour since you're coming out with a new album? Are you going to be doing a US tour?
And so here's what I'm doing. Here's the strategy. We're doing festivals at the end of the year.
Nice.
But I didn't want to book. We've been getting a ton of offers for stuff. But I've turned down everything. Tours that I probably shouldn't have, but I've turned down everything because so much crap is based off of these numbers online that, right now Browning's sitting at 250,000 monthly, but with the way Fixed operates, they freaking pump numbers up. They just know how to work this crap. It's their whole thing. They know how to do it. So if the Browning's sitting at 750,000 monthly or a million monthly listeners, and I go to book a tour, I'll be getting freaking three times, four times the amount of money. And so I'm literally just waiting for the cycle to start for this record to get that big number boost. So whenever a festival or a band hits us up to tour, instead of saying, "Hey, we need $1,500 a night to do this tour," is, "Hey, we need $3,500 a night to do this tour," and they look a million monthly listeners, boom, we'll do it. You know. And so I'm just waiting for everything to start rolling in so we can have a lot of hype so the numbers boost so then I can book a tour and properly get paid what we need to be able to
Smart.
do it.
Smart. I totally agree.
And Beesbo said, "What's the good side of the industry?" What's your answer to that?
Hmm. I
Because we
mean,
answered what the bad thing was. What would we fix? But what's the point? What's the good thing about this?
I mean, for me, I mean, this is me speaking on my half. I have a thing where I cannot stop doing this. I've actually almost quit a few times, and I can't because Dawn of Ashes is literally who I am. It's all my emotions, it's my personality. It makes me who I am, and without that, I would be pretty lost. So, I mean, just the fact that I could dump everything about me into something to craft something that a whole fan base could connect with. to me is the greatest part of being in the music industry as being an
Mm,
artist. I love fucking performing. I like
mm,
performing. I mean, I don't really like touring sucks, but I definitely love performing in front of people. Like
yeah,
I don't know. We're talking about the hardcore scene. You know, I grew up in the New York hardcore scene in the 90s and I learned how to be a front man and just watching the interaction between the band and the fans, it just gives you a feeling. And I feel like I don't know if this is really part of the industry, but I mean it is part of the industry. It's just the
yeah,
fact of being an established group where you just get that feeling off of
yeah,
the thing that you love doing.
for sure. I'm in the same boat with you. I my intention with my life was to be a broke musician forever. Like that was my actual intention. Like whenever me and my wife got together and we were having a baby, we built a tiny house on the edge of the woods in Missouri. Like we had zero cost of living. That was the plan. I built the house myself. Like I I never had the setup of, I never built credit. I didn't have any sort of crap. I couldn't get a loan for a house. My intention was never to build the or to have a house. I was gonna live in a van on tour, and I was gonna have a little tiny house on the woods. So I was gonna be a broke musician forever because I had no intention or care for money or the normal things that people go after because my whole purpose was to create something and the to be able whenever I have someone come up to me and talk to me for like an hour about what one of my songs specifically mean, like that's crazy, you know? To have to impact or make people think or uh, you know, do certain things like that. It is the purpose. It felt like my life's purpose and still does feel like my life's purpose to do music in this way. Like even starting this company, like I don't really talk about the money side of my company, but I've never had money like this. Not even freaking close. It's crazy. Like it's weird to actually make money outside of music, like having real products and really moving stuff. Uh, and it kind of actually created a massive like psychological issue for me because um I one don't know what to do with it. Two, I was focused so much on building this company because over COVID we couldn't tour. I was writing music, but there was no money there, and I had a baby. I had to make it work. Now I always knew that if I put the amount of focus I put into music into like a company that could actually make money, I just knew I was going to be successful with it. But after 3 years of hardcore focusing and pretty much only doing stuff for my company, I just felt like, what's the freaking point of this? Like, even for my daughter, like, yeah, I'm gonna be able to give her a good life because I'm finally financially stable, so I can do this standard bull crap. But nonetheless, I'd rather teach my daughter to be out there and doing something that's meaningful and trying to impact certain people. Not that a quote unquote normal life isn't meaningful because it is. But impacting the people around you is what's important.
Right.
And so even if you're working a normal job, if your impact is just making the other people in your normal jobs days a little bit better and a little easier so when they go home to their family they're a little happier, that's a big impact. It really is. But for me, like I'm not a crazy smart person in the sense of like I can't go work some like quote unquote important impactful job. The way that I've been gifted, if there's a such thing as a gift from God or something like that, my thing is music. I have something about me that it's just it flows out of me, and it actually allows me to be able to impact people in a positive way with very negative music. But nonetheless, the it still gives me something that gives people something. And so it felt like, okay, I'm making money, I'm selling these people these products, but it's not like a meaningful product what I do. I own a knife company. Um and so I felt like I was getting money for nothing for no impact, for not helping. Except that our knives did save someone life that was getting attacked, so that was kind of cool. But
Right.
uh but music, I could make $0 forever and have people that send me messages about how it's impacted them, and that's what gives me a purpose in life. So I'm in the mode right now of finding this middle ground of operating my company, but also focusing on music so that I feel like I'm doing my fulfilling my life's purpose, which is just impacting people in a positive way and entertaining.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's a weird spot. I'm in a weird freaking spot. Like,
Yeah,
just that I never imagined
I'm
being
actually
in.
taking my music, and I mean, like, I'm starting a whole music production company where I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing like video game scores and film
Mhm.
scoring, and using my skills as a music producer
Right.
to make that moolah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, the thing is, like, you can the only time you can rely on streams as a source of income is if you're getting 100 million streams a month, then
oh
you're
yeah,
probably fine, you know? But,
you can't
uh,
rely
to
on those streams at all.
no.
Uh,
And so to if you're making money in music, I think doing, like, what you're doing here is a good start because not that the people watching
well, it's funny because
are
I
being
with
monetized, but
with
it's a good monetization.
with Twitch, I was never really interested in this, and people were like asking me to do this and I'm a
Yeah.
gamer, I'm a hardcore gamer, so I was like, fuck, like,
Mhm.
might as well do this while I'm gaming, and my
Right.
fans could come on here and
Yep. For
watch me
sure.
be a
I mean,
nerd.
so I streamed for a long time on Twitch, and actually the reason, um, I was struggling like 3 albums ago, I was really struggling to get myself to work on music. It was in a bad spot, you know, and I was struggling to get myself to do it. So what I started using Twitch as was I was logging on every day and writing music on stream. And so then people were expecting me to be on to write music. So if I didn't, I would get freaking blasted by everybody. And so it actually like forced me, hey, today I got to get up and I got to work on music for 5 hours on stream, you know? And it allowed me to monetize music like I had never monetized before. Because it is monetizing music. You're taking the hardcore fans, the people that love you the most, that want to support you and give you their money directly and have no way of doing it. This is a way to do it. And
Yeah,
so I really appreciate streaming.
me too. I mean, since I've been on here, like, I've had some really amazing fans that have donated to me and
Mhm.
gifted me certain things, and it's great. And I actually, with my whole like modular stuff that I do, trying to figure out a way to be able to stream that as well besides me doing gaming.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I have like, and that's, I think it was, I don't know if it was my manager or someone told me, they're like, you should start a podcast and talk to other
Mm.
artists. And I was
Yeah,
just like, I don't know if I'd be fucking good at that. And I'm like,
yeah,
I was just like, fuck it. Like, be cool
yeah,
to kind of just sit down with other musicians and see where their
yeah.
heads are at with things. And so far, I mean, this is the second one. I've got two badasses on here already.
Oh,
You
there you go.
know,
Lord Lupus said, McBee or Christoph, have you considered your own labels and like some artist issues with labels and studios, in your opinion, greed and control have passion is important? Just curious. So basically, like, have we thought about starting our own labels?
so I was actually gonna, I mean, slightly off topic, but not off topic. I was gonna do the whole like artist management thing, and a lot of people did ask me to start my own label, but it's just there's so much to invest into doing a label that it's just I don't know if my head could wrap around the whole thing, and I don't want to let other artists down because I know what it's like to be on the opposite end, be on a
Yeah.
label that does shit for you, and you don't receive an email for fucking months. You probably know about
Right.
that.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I that's why I thought about it for a little bit just because of all the knowledge that I have, but at the same time, I don't know if I can like I have the patience or the time to do
Yeah.
it.
So for me, it's actually something that I was considering doing with this newfound money that I have for my company is reinvesting it into other artists or artists I believe in, and basically starting a label by doing that. But the issue for me with anything like that, because I've gone through the same thing. I was considering doing artist management and all that sort of stuff, and I've helped out bands a few different times. Um, like there's I won't say the band name for whatever reason, but I helped them for a while. I wasn't a booking agent or a manager, but they basically had no one working for them, and they needed to get tours. So I was just hitting up everybody and getting them on tours and all this sort of stuff. And uh, I basically I couldn't take a percentage from them. I couldn't get myself to take a percentage, because they weren't a huge band. They were doing all right, but by the end of the tour, they were like, "What do we owe you?" And I was like, "Well, how much profit did you guys come home tour with?" They're like, "We got $800 extra." And I'm like, "Yeah, split that amongst yourselves. Don't think about giving me, because if I took an act that like a proper percentage a manager would take, a manager gets 15% of everything.
15%.
Uh, yeah, they would have owed me thousands. And so but like, why would I take the last $800 that these dudes have just because they owe me, you know?
Right.
And so I would be very bad in the business because I would never be able to allow myself to rip off a band because that's almost the only way to be profitable. Now, Fixed has this figured out. I know I keep talking about Fixed, but trust me, I've had bad experience with record labels, and I would not have signed another one if I didn't think that they were doing the right
You
thing.
and me both.
Yeah, and so, like, they are doing it right. They are doing a profit split, which is what artists and managers should do. It's what booking agents should do. Booking agents is the one thing, though, that is actually worth their percentage. They make 10% of anything they get you for a show. That makes sense. Like, my booking agent, like, I'll say the numbers. We have a festival coming up in December. Like, it's not a festival, actually. We're just direct support for a big band. They hit us up. The booking agent, like, how much would it cost to make it happen? It's a one-off, so it's a bit more expensive than normal. I said $3,500 is what would make it happen, and he came back and said, "I got you 4,500." You know, and so like he can get 450 bucks for that. He just made me an extra $1,000. I didn't have anything to do with that. And so booking agents are the most important thing and the thing that is the most worth the money. Everything else should be a profit split. If you get home from
Who's your booking agent, by the way?
Defons, you know, yeah, he's a good dude. And it's they if you get home with $1,000 to spare on tour, and then a manager should get 15% of that $1,000 because that manager's job is to make you profit. And if they only make you $1,000 profit, then they only get 15% of that. That's how it should work. Everything should be
Hmm?
a
That's how
percentage
that's
of
that's how
profit.
I work with everybody. It's either 10 or 15%.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the everything has been based off of whenever there was album sales. Whenever band, I mean, even when the Browning first started touring on a bigger tour, like we toured with Fear Factory, we were selling 50 to 70 CDs per show. Like that's a lot of extra money to be had whenever that it doesn't exist anymore. And so like whenever bands are making money off records, like you could do it. I mean, the Brownings' first record, Burn This World, collectively sold almost 100,000 units. That's crazy. And so there was real money to be made back then and real money that could be shared with managers or labels and all this sort of stuff. But now that's nowhere. That doesn't exist, you know? It's crazy.
Right on,
But yeah,
right
no, I
on.
I would I would not start a record label just because I wouldn't be able to rip anyone off. Just can't do it.
I just can't because I don't think I would have the patience for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a big thing too, is like I kind of had to back off of um like working on other people's music a lot of times. There was a point in my career where I started a multimedia company where I was doing a band could come to me, they'd get recording, mix, master, t-shirt designs, album art, everything. They'd get everything from front to back done by me. But then I was spending all my time and creative effort on other people's stuff where I should have been focused on mine. And so that's
Right.
something I also struggle with is working on other people's stuff. It's like I need to be doing my music right now, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I'm at too. I had a lot of people that wanted me to work on their stuff, and I'm like, I gotta finish my shit before I can get on
Exactly.
some other stuff. Like, that's my biggest problem. My biggest problem is I take on too many things,
Mm,
and I don't know how to fucking. I start getting like anxiety because I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know how to juggle everything. My time is
for
just
sure.
insane.
I was just listening to a thing about this because I struggle with that too. I think a lot of people do, and especially because musicians are essentially entrepreneurs, but just in a creative realm rather than like a business realm. Which I also think that, like, just based on my experience starting like a company, I think musicians have the best mindset for companies because we grind it out until it works.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and so this guy was saying everyone has a million projects, but what you should really say to yourself is like, okay, if I could get rid of um every single, like, say you had a magic wand and you go boop and it makes one thing hyper successful and gets rid of everything else. That one thing that you would want to be hyper successful, that's what you should just focus on. F everything else. That's what he says.
I
And
couldn't
so,
agree more.
yeah. But if I did that, I'd be absolutely broken. We'd be homeless. So I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. How late do you want to go on for?
Uh I mean, my baby's not awake. We can go a little bit longer if we need to.
Just to
Anyone
let you
got any
guys
more?
know, after this podcast, I'll be back on streaming Starfield.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, back on the gaming.
How was Starfield?
Have you ever played Skyrim?
Yeah.
So, it's Skyrim in space. So,
Well,
it's
that's all we need. Yeah.
super fucking relaxing, great soundtrack. It's just
There
mellow.
we go.
A good game to stream because it's just mellow to watch. I mean, I'm
Right.
streaming two different games right now, which they're like totally opposite. One's a Dark Souls
Yeah.
fucking Castlevania
Not
type
chill.
game.
Yeah.
Fucking gives you like major anxiety playing it, and then the other one's just mellow.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah. Whenever I stream, that's why I always streamed RuneScape because basically RuneScape's an idle simulator, and so you can just sit there and read chat and listen to music while you're playing this game full on. So
yeah.
passive stuff's definitely the best to be able to interact and everything.
I gotta check out that one.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been playing since 2001. If you're not in yet, probably best not to.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It'll suck you down. Beesbo plays too, so yeah.
All right.
Um, yeah.
So you guys got any more questions for us?
Is it true that you never see some of the merch beforehand? Have you? No. Well, maybe some artists, but for the Browning, um, I'm way too particular, and so if I'm
Mhm.
not making it myself, I've made someone make freaking 50 renditions of it.
What do they
So
mean by that? They mean like we never saw the merch getting printed?
yeah, maybe some people
I
don't. Like maybe some of those big bands straight up don't. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That
I
whole
would.
idea would be that's ridiculous. Like if what if someone like we're like our type of band and then it said like, fucking praise Jesus or something on the back. It
There
would
we
like
go.
make makes no sense. Like
Actually, maybe that would sell.
it probably
Think about that.
would. Probably yeah. Probably would.
Uh, but I mean, to be fair, like no one else in my band sees the designs until they're up. So I guess for majority of the people, maybe not. But for me, yeah, everything flows through me.
Me and you are
But yeah,
identical when it comes to this whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. My band has a pretty decent. They show up, they play, and they're chilling. So, but I do that intentionally because I don't know. I guess I'm a control freak.
I'm a control freak, but now I have two of my band members. They're the ones who've been in DOA the longest. Since I'm
Hmm.
so fucking overwhelmed, I'm having them
Yeah,
handle some of the business stuff because I'm like,
heck yeah,
because they're like, dude, you need a break. They're like,
right.
let us help you, and I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's actually part of what I'm doing with this new era of the Browning. Hardcore Keen being such a big figure in the scene, he's over 100,000 followers on Instagram, over 100,000 on TikTok. Like he's got a serious following.
Oh,
Everyone knows him,
yeah,
and so part of what I wanna do. I wanna relinquish all of the content side of the Browning to him because clearly he has it dialed in, like, he does it for all of his stuff. So that's gonna be a big burden off me, so I'm trying to learn how to do that a little bit, you know?
What kind of question is that? Sorry, I'm
You can
the
Oh, what if you claimed to be a metal and wore a shirt with a goldfish with it? Are you talking about my shirt?
I mean, I'm kind of jealous.
What
Oh
are you
shit!
trying to say,
Wait,
Beagle?
it has a tinfoil hat on it.
Yeah.
The fuck? What kind of shirt is that?
So it's from, this YouTube channel called, The Y Files,
Okay.
and, you guys should watch it. He's great, and you gotta go back on all of his stuff. He goes over, like, all the conspiracy theories and breaks them down, kinda talks about how they formed, why the conspiracy theories are a thing, and, kinda debunks them if they can be debunked and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And he has this side character called Hecklefish, and Hecklefish is in a goldfish bowl with a aluminum foil hat on it, and yeah, it's good. Go watch the Y Files.
It looks like something from like Adult Swim or something.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
He talks for it like the fish has a voice, and he pops in and says random crap, like anytime there's talk of lizard people, like we have a mug with Hecklefish on it that says like lizard people. He has like a New York accent. It's good stuff.
Nice. So anybody who's new to this channel, if make sure to I encourage you to hit that subscribe button.
Oh
Get
yeah,
a lot of good things for subscribing to my channel. Get to play we're gonna at some point all play a game together. I have no idea. Do you even know a multiplayer game that like a lot of people
Jackbox,
Jackbox?
Jackbox. Yeah,
Is
you
it
need to do
good?
the Jackbox games. Yeah, so it's basically a bunch of mini games. Everyone that plays, they just type in a link in a URL and it shows up on their phone, so they don't have to download anything.
Uh-huh.
And it like you play like stuff like Pictionary and these little mini games together, and it's hilarious to play on
Nice.
stream. It's really good. It's called
Yeah,
Jackbox
I've been
games.
thinking of like, cause what I'm doing is like any subscriber, play a game with
Mhm.
me. We were thinking about doing like a like once a month movie night thing where
Oh yeah, I did movie nights for a while, and they pop off.
because there's so many
Yeah.
people and it trips me out. And please tell me you've seen this movie. Please, because it's gonna give me a heart attack if one more person says they have not seen it. But there's so many of my fans who've not seen Blade Runner.
I've seen Blade Runner. Yeah,
It's like what?
but do you like the original or the new
I
one?
love both of them.
Yeah, they're both good.
I love them both. Like
I mean, you can't listen to synthesizer music without
yeah.
knowing Blade Runner. What are you guys
That
doing?
that is cyberpunk. Like
Yeah,
if you ever played cyberpunk, that is what created cyberpunk. Is that
right.
movie? So yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I was
definitely.
like, I gotta fucking play this movie for everybody.
Yeah. I would do it on Discord. Discord I've been streaming on Discord,
Uh huh.
and there's essentially no restrictions. There's no delay with chat whenever you're streaming on Discord.
Okay.
So doing, like, movie nights and stuff like that, you gotta do it up on Discord for sure.
So
Uh, yeah, we did movie nights, but we would basically only do, like, the most effed up stuff that we could watch, and so that was the first time I watched Terrifier, like,
oh,
yeah,
have you seen
we
the
were
second
we were
one?
watching. Yeah,
Saw it in the theater, and like I'm like
eh,
biggest horror
yeah,
nerd, and that movie actually, there's scenes I was just like, Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
So, I think I've talked about this a bit, um, I think the Terrifier franchise is gonna be the modern day of any of those that we'd like for people that are younger right now, they're gonna be the modern day, like, Nightmare on Elm Street and
Oh
Jason.
yeah.
Like, that's a unique character,
Oh
and
yeah.
those movies are effed up. Like, if you go back to
Fuck
whenever
yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street came out and stuff, that was, like, next level. Like, they were like, "This is freaking crazy," and that's what Terrifier is in the modern world,
Yeah.
and it's just such a creative character and awkward and just so it's good. I think Terrifier is the best modern horror film, hands down.
I actually just saw, I went to the movies. I took myself on a date and
There you go.
saw the second Nun, and it was really good.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did that recently too for Oppenheimer.
Oh, dude, I've been wanting. Was it good?
I mean, for people that love, and I do,
Christopher
love
Nolan.
stuff like this, it's long and there's talking, and that's about it. But it was
Hans
awesome.
Zimmer did the soundtrack though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was hilarious though, because that is very much um a dude our age type of movie. And so,
Yeah.
like, I went into the movie theater and there wasn't many people in there yet, and I prefer to sit up close at times, especially in the front section, because then there's not people behind me kicking my seat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I sit up on the front and there's people in there, but I'm by myself, so I just don't want to be around anybody. I go sit up in the front and then like 5 minutes later, some random dude comes and like sits, and then another random single guy, like no one with them. And so then it just started the front started filling with like individual guys walking in. I'm like, yeah, these are the guys that had to come because there was no way their girl was about to go watch a 4.5 hour movie about dudes talking about atom bombs. And so it's just a whole bunch of dudes by themselves in there watching Oppenheimer.
When I went to the theater and saw Blade Runner 2049,
Mhm.
it was all these young people, and I can tell they had no fucking idea what the movie was, but they all looked
Right,
just confused.
right.
And like they obviously didn't see the first one, but I'm just like sitting there
Right,
laughing at these kids like that just it's just
right.
crazy. I'm waiting for the new Dune movie. I can't fucking wait.
Yeah, yeah. For me, my biggest thing with movies right now, especially with Disney, because I have a kid, and so we're watching Disney, it's just a thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Alright, I just want more new IPs. I want new stuff. I don't want remakes. I want
I'm with
and
you. I'm with you.
Like, I want new stuff. That's why Terrifier is so awesome. Like, if instead of making Terrifier, they just made another freaking Jason movie, I'd freaking rip myself, you know? And so having a new character with a new plot line, all the ones Disney are doing now are trash because 'cause they're motivated in specific directions. But, I don't know, all these remakes are mind-numbing. It's kinda just like what we've been talking about with music.
I
If I know what
honestly
the
for
music is.
years I've been against remakes. Like feel like,
Right.
but I feel like the Dune movies are kind of different. But there's one movie that I'm obsessed with, and it's just like a completely original idea. Well, because they took it from a book, and it's
Mhm.
literally one of the best movies that I've seen. I'm in
Yeah.
Revelation. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. I talk about it night. I bet that me and you like that for the same reason. Uh,
Everything about it.
fuck you. The
Everything.
sound design is what made me go watch it.
You know
They
the drummer of Portishead wrote
Really?
the music for that
So,
movie.
I was actually specifically talking to my wife about this movie, Annihilation, because I literally went to see it because of a sound they used in the trailer. Like, there's this so the movie is about basically this, other dimension that they go through this, like, void type thing, like this I don't know, it's hard to
Area
explain.
X.
Yeah, they go into this thing, but anytime this wall that they have to go through shows up, there's this electronic sound that plays that's like this weird, like I can't even describe it.
The synth
Um,
sounds they use in that movie is
it's freaking crazy sounding.
it's
That sound
honestly
alone.
to me, and I because I've watched it. I don't even know how many times. I ended up buying the book, so I'm reading the book right
Right.
now. But I watched it so many times because it's so fucking good. It's so
Yeah,
fucking
and
good.
the end is one of the most uncomfortable scenes. Like the tension that's being built in that with the sounds that are happening because they use those void sounds
Yeah, yeah,
again
yeah.
in there. And it's freaking mind numbing, like the sounds that they use. And this is literally, it's crazy how music gets me. My wife talks about it all the time,
Yeah.
but just the sound in the trailer made me go see it. It's this weird, like,
So
like
I've been
sound.
listening to the soundtrack. There's a song called it's called Alien. You heard it?
Yeah.
It has
Uh-uh.
that it's like when she encounters the alien
Sees them. Yeah.
that has that crazy synth.
It's probably that sound I'm talking
It
about.
probably is because this synth sound.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell did they use? I'm like, I want to like recreate it on my.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's the same thing I was talking to her about. I'm like, I gotta figure out how to make sounds like that, like so unique. That's not something you just, like, put on a Nexus preset and press it, and you're like, "Oh, that was cool." Like, that's something you have to specifically freaking make.
That's
Um,
that.
yeah, exactly. For sure.
Right.
And
Uh,
so, like, that sound is crazy. I love that sort of crap. And, yeah, so that Annihilation movie, I'm about it. And it's just cool. We're into weird stuff like that, and, like, my wife's really into alligators,
oh, see,
and
let's see. Yeah.
I told her because she wants to get a big alligator tattoo. I'm like, "No, you need to get that freaking white flower crystal alligator in Annihilation. That thing is crazy looking."
The fucking bear, the
Yeah.
skeleton bear.
Mhm. Or how the people turn into trees. This is the kind of interesting stuff I'm talking about. Like, that's the kind of crap I like. If I have to see another remake of another movie I already know the plot to, it's brain dead. I want
So
stuff like that.
when you get a
Completely unique.
chance, you should. I don't. I don't know if you like reading, but I mean, you should read the book because it's like it's. I'm not like really into it yet, but it's way different than the movie. There's parts that are
Oh,
just
really?
like shit that was not in the movie at
Mhm.
all. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So I had never read a book in my life until I decided I was gonna write a book. Uh, and so I was like, I came up with it happened from writing Browning music. I came up with a crazy plot line for some stuff. And I was like, dang, I came up with a whole trilogy, the whole everything, but I'd never read a book in my life. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to read some books if I'm going to write books. And so first book I ever read in my life was The Hobbit. Um, and because my thought was like, okay, because I love the Hobbit movies, I love Lord of the Ring movies, everything. I was like, if I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read one that I have already a visual representation for so that it's easier to process everything that's going in. So as I'm reading The Hobbit, I can see Gollum, I can see Gandalf, I know what it is.
You can put a face
And
to certain things when.
yeah, whereas like if I read a book I didn't have something like that too, I might have got lost. So it helped me
It
having the visual
happens.
depiction already
Yeah.
there, right?
Hmm.
And so, but yeah, I learned that a lot of times when they transition books over, they either cut out stuff or add stuff. Like if you watch the Hobbit movies, there's the female elf that falls in love with the dwarf. That is absolutely not in the books. They added that for Hollywood love movie type stuff. That is not in the books at all.
Well, like
No mention of any female.
in the book for Annihilation, there's a tower, like an alien tower. They have no idea what it is, and there's this whole scene of them going into this tower. That was never in the movie. There was never a tower that they explored. There
Hmm.
was this like you know how like all the animals are like mutated from the DNA.
Yeah,
There was like with the what are those pigs they called fuck with the husks. Drawing a blank.
like a boar.
Yeah, boar. It was a mutated boar. And they describe it, and it's fucking just creepy.
Yeah,
But the whole like tower thing, I was like, man, I wish they put that in the movie.
that whole thing just missing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that happens all the time. Or like in The Hobbit, there's one sentence that mentions these giants in the mountains,
hmm,
but then in the movie, they turned that into like a full scene of these giants throwing massive rocks and all this sort of stuff. So they really Hollywoodize a lot of stuff, and I don't know. So yeah, removing stuff like that, if only every movie could have an extended version.
well, also it's like it's hard to compact like the
Exactly.
whole book into a movie. So unless they, but they can also just make sequels, but it's just add-ons from the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That movie was cool as crap. Really is. It's something I think about and talk about all the time. And sound design gets me in movies big time. My wife talks crap all the time. One of the first dates that we ever had, me and my wife, was whenever the new Grinch movie came out. And she swears to God that I was that movie made me cry, right? But I will say, like, it didn't make me cry. It might have had me welting up slightly because the music in this one section, I say this to her, I'm like, you cried because his heart grew 3 sizes. I'm like, it was not that. Like, I know that's coming. The music that they had in that moment was this, because it's whenever he's like holding the thing, it's about to fall off the cliff, and he's like holding it, and the music's super tense, and he's like struggling, and he picks it up in it's this huge climax of like strings, and they right when he lifts it, everyone in the town does the na 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 na, and it was just like the whatever. It was the music itself had me like overwhelmed, dude.
I'll admit it. Like, there's scores and
Yeah,
scenes in movies that I get all fucking
yeah,
emotional. I even do it with my own songs. Like, I'll like
yeah. I do too.
um for the new album that's coming out because it's like all about like shit that I've been going through, and I listen to the lyrics and then the music, and that's it's kind of like how a movie is, like the dialogue, and then
Yeah,
this like crazy score comes in, and it just makes you feel
yeah.
like you're feeling. That's the
Right.
great thing
100%.
about fucking music is it can just
Yeah,
alter your emotions.
yeah. 100%. I mean, I especially with this new DXD music I'm doing
Hmm.
because it's all emotional music. It's emotional synth rock. The each one of these songs I've done so far with it, whenever I play it in my car the first time, I actually cry. And I don't cry a lot uh in life, you know. I'm have been known to be not very sentimental to real life things, but I cried when Amon Amarth walked out on stage when I saw them my first time. I cried when In This Moment was covering freaking In the Air Tonight at their show. That got me all turned up for whatever reason. And so it's always music. The music is what gets me 100%. And it's just it's a weird
Dude,
thing.
I've
I don't
watched
know.
like scenes of like fucking Walking Dead, and I've teared
Yeah.
up during that. There's like scenes like in that. I'm like, God damn this show.
Yeah.
They had to kill off
It,
that one fucking person that, you know.
right. And I mean, I don't know. It's always the music. The music can make or break a moment like that, big time, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
And so yeah, music is crazy. And I don't know. That's the reason we do it, you know?
Why
You experience that
scores
with
or
both the Browning and Dawn of Ashes. There's something with strings and synths, and metal. Yeah, it's just the all that's the beauty of synths in metal. Like metal can only go so deep until you add layers to it, you know? And I'm not much of a lyrical person. I mainly listen to German bands. I don't freaking speak any German, but you can sense emotion in it, you know?
right.
And so like I can listen to a German band and know what they're feeling because of the music, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, well, always good talking to you.
Yeah, man. I've we should definitely connect after this,
Yeah,
and yeah, if you guys ever need a remix or you need a band
yeah,
to tour with you guys, let me know because
yeah.
it's funny, like there's only like a few bands that I want to go on tour with that I feel like
Right.
makes sense with the
Mhm.
type of style. Like there's people have been throwing ideas at us who we should go on tour with, and I'm like, I want to play with like deathcore and hardcore bands.
Yeah.
I
For
don't know.
me, I personally would love to put together, like, perfect tour packages that make just a ton of sense,
Yeah.
but one thing in the industry that a lot of people don't understand, because 'cause they'll be like, "How why the F are these 2 bands touring together?" Because 'Cause they're so different. It's because they wanna boost those numbers, and so here's the thing, like, say the Browning and, Born of Osiris tour together, like, we're both drawing the same people. So, if us and Born of Osiris are gonna draw the exact same people to the show,
Makes no
that means
sense.
they're the only people that are coming.
That's
But if we
exactly
Yeah,
what I'm talking about. Exactly, because
yeah,
there's a particular band that everybody keeps wanting us to play with. I'm not going to
yeah,
mention who, but we have the same fan base, so it's like,
exactly. You're
like
not reaching new people then. And
yeah,
so, like, for us, one of a really good tour that we did, the most beneficial tours the Browning has ever done is the tours that we've done with Mushroomhead. By far, best tours we've ever done as far as return fans, because they have diehards,
oh yeah,
and they became diehards for us. But beyond that, like the best tour that we ever did, okay, not best tour we ever did, one of the most beneficial at the time was us and Rings of Saturn did a co-headliner. We draw opposite sides of the metal spectrum there. They're drawing people that are into shreddy freaking, you know, music like that, and then we're drawing metalcore people. So they were drawing this like tech death side of the metal scene, and we were drawing the metalcore side of the scene. And so it was huge numbers for both of us because we were drawing two different fan bases that were coming to one show. rather than two bands that are the exact same drawing the same fan base to one show.
Right.
Like, so you'll see Whitechapel and freaking A Day to Remember going out. And it's because if A Day to Remember just brought a whole bunch of pop punk bands, there'd be no extra people at the show,
Yeah.
you know? And so, but for me, I want to build like the ultimate synth tour, you know? I want to build, that's the type of stuff I like to do. And at this point in my career, I'm not particularly looking to grow like live numbers. If I want to grow live numbers, I'll grow online, draw people in. So I just want to have a really cool show. That's all I care about.
Yeah, it's also like for me, also like the bands you're playing with. You're cool with those bands, stuff like that. Because I've been on played with tours and people. It's just people in general are just like shitty, and the tour ends up sucking because everybody just shitty human beings.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. Yeah, and that's a big thing too. Like if I'm taking time away from my wife and my daughter and my business, it better be worth it in every sense. It better be a fun time. If there's one person that's stressful, they gone, you know?
Yeah.
And 100%.
I tell everybody this. I am a hardcore introvert. I do not like leaving my house. So if I'm leaving my
Yeah,
house for 30 fucking days, it better be worth it.
for sure.
Like, you
Uh-huh. Yeah,
know?
RuneScape going on mobile was a big bonus to me on the last couple tours that we did. So I was down
Yeah.
with that.
Right on, man.
Um, but yeah, if you get a chance, whenever you start your gaming stream after this is over,
Hmm.
pull up Gamma Hammer on Spotify and
Okay.
listen to some Gamma Hammer.
Okay.
He's in your chat right now. He's really cool music.
Dope. Is he adding?
And
Is he following my page now?
oh, he better be. You better be Gamma Hammer.
Break my
And
heart.
he has cool artwork. Yeah, go listen to his music.
Yeah,
Pull it up on
for
Spotify and
sure.
listen to it when you start your stream. He's
For
cool.
sure. I'll totally do it.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll have fun on
Star
flying
people.
through space.
Yeah, flying through space and talking to weird NPCs.
Aren't we all just weird NPCs
Yeah.
at the end of the day?
But dude, yeah, this has been fun, and I can't wait to hear next album. I'm a fan. It's
Heck
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny
I
because like I said, I randomly found you guys back in the day, and man, this is so fucking unique and refreshing to fucking hear.
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and here's the deal. If he gets up to 500 subs on this stream, I'll let him play the Browning song on stream live. There we go.
Oh shit.
All right, we'll
Really?
leave it at that.
Hmm. Wow. You hear that?
Just a cool $2,500, but hey, make it happen. You can hear that right here.
Get to hear. Okay, here's the new thing. 500 followers. You get to hear the new
Subs.
Browning. Oh, subs.
So I'm trying to make you money, dude. What do you mean?
Subscription.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Subscribers.
make you money.
Subscribers. Yeah.
There we go.
But you get a bunch
Heck
of
yeah.
shit besides that. But dude, you get the new Browning
New
song.
Browning? Come
Come
on,
on.
it's worth it.
Come on.
Sweet.
All right,
All right,
homie.
I'm
Well,
gonna go
let's
make some
if you
popcorn.
ever want me on your podcast ever again, just you know where to
Yeah,
find
let's
me.
do it. I'm down with it.
Because
Of course.
my new album's dropping soon, and I gotta
Is it?
promote that shit too.
Of course. It's what the world revolves around, right?
All right, homie. Well, I
All right,
will
peace, dude.
chat with you soon.
All right, bye.
Later, man.